What's up, guys? Long time no talk. I took a week and a half off from YouTube and it was amazing. Look at the space I've created. I've made even more space. Every time I go home, it's an effort to make more space back there and open this up. I've got my chair over here, which I have repositioned. You guys remember in one of the last videos, the chair was back there. I have that repositioned, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Plus, it makes it really easy for me to take it out. And I just had it outside while I was contemplating the fact that my hood is up because I noticed some pulling. Now, I'm at the terminal right now. I got to get a few things done. I got to get a DOT inspection done, chassis lube, and a few other little odds and ends. And I noticed some pulling in my steer brakes. And the last time that I had that happen earlier this year, I had a crack over there on the pad on the left side. And so I raised the hood up because I'm getting ready to go over, get in line for chassis lube. Raised the hood up, was just checking everything. And I found cracks on both sides. So there is that. So that's going to have to be dealt with. Fortunately, I was able to get I was able to add that to my DOT inspection appointment, which they would have failed it anyway. So it's going to be done no matter what. I mean, it's going to be done no matter what. I ain't leaving with both front brakes cracked. So fortunately, it's not too expensive, but it's aggravating that the left one is cracked when I had the left one replaced earlier this year. So I'm not sure what's going on there. If any of you guys have any ideas on that, let me know. I've never had problems with them until this year. I'm probably going to see if I can get an alignment done tomorrow morning while I'm here. I don't really notice any alignment issues, but I haven't had an alignment done for a while, so I'm probably going to get an alignment done tomorrow morning before I get out of here. But it's my goal to I'm trying to get as much done as possible pre-cold weather. So I tested my heater today and it was hot. It was hot as hell outside. So running my heater for a few minutes was brutal, but I wanted to get that tested up and just gave my truck a good thorough inspection of my own, just to see if there was anything that I could find. One other thing I think I'm going to ask them to do, even though I've put it off forever, is that one of my on the Freightliner, on the Cascadia, there's the two plastic racks on the back for load locks, and the one on the left has been broken since I've had this truck. So one of my drivers broke it, and I haven't been able to use that side. And the last couple times, it's just like, it's been infuriating to me that you can't just buy. They won't just sell you the plastic piece that slides in, because that's the piece that moves is cracked in multiple places. That's all I need. I don't need the whole apparatus, but they only sell the whole apparatus. And it's obvious, it's just a rip-off price. I mean, it's just a piece of plastic, you know? But I think I may get that done because I don't really have a problem with load locks. I've never, it's been years since I've felt like I'm in trouble with load locks. But being able to carry 8 instead of 4 is kind of a big deal, because I've had some opportunities over the past couple months where I could have had 8 load locks, but I only ended up with 4 because I couldn't put the other 4 on the other side. So I'm gonna probably get that done, just because I'm just tired of putting it off. Had my Peterbilt was in the shop. It failed its DOT inspection due to a brake chamber issue. So what we ended up doing there is, this was a week ago, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal, but because they couldn't get him into the shop until the next night to get the brake chamber fixed, we determined, and I gave him the choice, but we determined he might as well just go ahead and take his home time then. So he's been home for a week. I've been home for a week and a half. So I'm a little bit in the hole right now. It's not that big of a deal. I'll be able to climb out real quick. But he's loaded tonight, which is Wednesday night. So he's going to pick up a load right now. And I'll be headed out of here tomorrow morning. Whether I'm loaded or not, I will be leaving the terminal tomorrow morning. That will happen. Or as soon as all this stuff is done. As soon as all this stuff is done and my DOT inspection is done, and I'm in the clear on all that, I'll be out of here. If they got a load that's coming in here that's convenient and easy for me to get out with, great, I'll take it. If they're telling me it's going to be a day or two of waiting and it may be a shit load, I'm not waiting. I got other ways to get off the yard, and I'm going to take one of those. I'm not gonna sit here tomorrow. So, in other news, and I spent 6 minutes giving you guys an update, but in other news, man, I'm like sweating. In other news, the Trump administration just released its information. You guys, I don't know if I talked about this. I probably talked about it on driverdiscord.com, or maybe we were in voice chat a couple weeks ago talking about it, but they were coming after the DEF regulations, and I'm disappointed. I'm pretty disappointed. I'll be honest with you. Like, it's, I mean, we should applaud progress, but I think this is probably all the progress we're going to see on it. I think that the industry has so much might and power that they're not just going to go take down the whole DEF industry. I think they're just throwing all of us drivers a bone and the farmers a bone and hoping that that'll be the end of it and they're moving on. And look, this is a good thing, but it's not good enough. We should applaud this little piece, but I think the way that I've seen, what is his name, Duffy or whatever, the transportation secretary, the way he's out there saying this is like it's some big, huge victory for the trucking industry and the farming industry. And in my view, that's not the way I see it at all. So here's my reading of it so far. You guys correct me if I'm seeing this wrong, but here's where we were like a couple months ago, which was thinking, okay, they're talking about the DEF regulations, the EPA mandates and all that stuff. It sounded like we may get a reversal of all the DEF BS. And like a month and a half ago, there was actually quite a bit of conversation about, okay, so our new truck's not going to have the DEF systems installed, and what happens if it comes back in a few years with a new administration? That was where the conversation was like a month or a month and a half ago. Well, as it turns out, all they're doing is getting rid of the mandate that your truck responds to a bad sensor or a bad DEF system with a D rate. That's all they're doing. So they're saying that the D rate causes, substantial burden and cost and downtime and all that, which is true. It does. If you got a bad sensor on a DEF system, it's going to shut you down on the highway. You're probably going to be towed. It's going to cost you so much money. Even if you're under warranty, it's going to be absurdly expensive. So that is true. And getting rid of the mandate for the truck to respond to a bad sensor or a bad DEF system with a D rate is a good thing. We should applaud that. But from my reading of it, that's all that's happening. There's no getting rid of the DEF system. There's no changes to the DEF system or any kind of EPA or regulations on that. Every truck, every tractor, most even passenger trucks, I'm not really sure how it works with what size engine or all that. DEF is not going away. So you're still going to have to go to the truck stop, and you're still going to have to pay the stupid almost $5 a gallon for the DEF, and you're still going to have the DEF system. And if it throws a sensor or something bad happens with the system, you're still going to have to go to the dealership and get it repaired. The only difference is it's now not a requirement that the vehicle derate as a reaction to a bad sensor or something going on with the DEF system. Which kind of makes me wonder, okay, well, why the hell was that happening all along anyway? If it's been determined that your truck doesn't need to derate when there's a bad sensor, then someone was okay with us just being put through this hell for years? Because apparently it's pointless and needless. Apparently it anyway. So from my reading of it, that's all that's happening. And again, that's a good thing, but it feels like it's like, we're being thrown a bone. Here you go. You won't be shut down on the interstate. Now you can all be happy. No, man, we needed to get rid of all this nonsense altogether. Not just here's something that help you get down the road into the dealership without having to be shut down and towed. But unfortunately, that's all we're getting. So pretty sad. Pretty sad to see. All right, so I had a good sabbatical from YouTube. I got some things I need to refocus on. I need to really drill down and refocus on some things. And that's what I did when I was home. I really just spent time with my wife and son. I just need to refocus on some things. So it was not my intention, because I wasn't home a long time this past time. It was not my intention to get into the studio or do a bunch of podcasts or any of that stuff. My intention was just to enjoy some home time. You know what I mean? And just kind of refocus a little bit. So, but I'm going to be out on the road. This time I will not be out for very long. Only a couple weeks I'm looking at. And then I'll get more into the studio and get back into podcasting and stuff like that. But I intend to be making YouTube videos this whole time out. So I'll be updating you guys. I'll be doing members only videos and all that, getting back into the groove of things. In the meantime, I'm going to get this hood down and head over to the shop. Get all this stuff taken care of overnight so I can get on the road tomorrow and get moving. All right, guys, be safe, make good decisions, always drive, thrive. I'll talk to y'all soon.